Well, hello, everyone, and happy Winning Wednesday. It's Winning Wednesday. Hopefully, you had a winning Wednesday today. And as I do every Wednesday, I'm here tonight to talk to some phenomenal people. As you guys know, this is Doc's Success Formula Solution to Personal, Professional, and Relationship Puzzles. And tonight, I'm going to talk to four young ladies, and they're going to share some phenomenal stories with us. As you guys know, I have been celebrating Women's Month, not just a day, not just a week, but we took over the entire month of March. And so we have been having some conversations with some phenomenal women the past 2 weeks, and we're going to continue to do so. And so tonight is a show that is very, very special to me because it's a personal show. It's very personal. And if you saw the post, you saw that tonight we will be going to be speaking to women who have come through domestic violence situations. They've been victorious. We're used to hearing the words domestic violence survivor. When me and these young ladies talked, we all agreed that we didn't like the word survivor. Um, and so we really feel like we're victors. We have gotten the victory. We've won. We've persevered and through those situations. I said we, and so we'll all be speaking tonight about that. And so I'm really, really, really excited about tonight's show. So before, and guys, I'm going to apologize in advance for my voice because you guys know that I am a real estate instructor by day sometimes, and once a month I teach a 7-day week-long real estate course that runs from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And so I have 2 more days left, Thursday and Friday, and my voice is not cooperating with me. So I'm apologizing in advance if you can't hear me. And so we're going to start off tonight by first allowing the ladies to introduce themselves. Y'all, I met all of them in real estate class. That's the awesome part. We all met in real estate class. We bonded and we connected. They're in different classes, but they'll tell you all about who they are and how we met and all that good stuff. And so we're going to start with you, Pastor Sherry Ray, because I think you are the you've known me the longest out of the group. So I'm going to start with you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Dr. Chester, for having me on the show. This is a blessing to be able to share a testimony and story and to also share with everyone else on here tonight. I am Pastor Sherry Ray, the pastor of the Church of Worship International Ministries. We are an online ministry. My ministry is really true to women. We deal with the total man, but women is where my heart is. And so, again, I am so grateful to be on here tonight.
Thank you, Pastor Sherry. We're going to go with you next, Haley.
My name is Haley, and wait, I'm sorry. I'm from Indiana, and right now I am just blessed to be able to sit in and just take real estate and just focus on that. I told myself at one point that I was never going to do school again unless I was able to just take it and just focus on that. So right now, all I'm doing is just focusing on myself and getting into real estate so I can make a very good life for myself.
Okay. I did want to say, Sherry, can you tell the listening audience how old you are?
Oh my goodness. I am 57 years young.
Young. That's right. We want the people to know that we're talking to a very varied group. So, how young are you? 57 years young. And then Haley, how young
I
are
am
you?
25.
25. Sharice, your turn.
25.
You got to introduce yourself too.
I had to take it off mute. Hi, I'm Sharice. I'm 37 years old. I'm from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I was born in New York, but I was raised in Fort Lauderdale. I moved to Jacksonville the end of September. And I know Dr. Chester because I took her class a couple of weeks ago. And I passed the exam by the grace of God. But she knew what she knows what she's doing. And she's a great teacher. So it worked out really good. And I'm really glad that I met her because she really inspires me.
Thank you, Sharice. It wasn't a couple. It was last month, y'all. It feels like a couple of weeks.
I think 'cause we've been studying every day. The days just going together.
With a whole new class. The young lady that you guys saw, she's coming back on. So India, I actually met this week in this month's real estate class. And so India, you're right on time. Introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are, where you from, what you do, and how old you are.
Okay, cool. So like she said, my name's India. I'm 34. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, and I'm a nurse, a registered nurse. And right now I'm attending this awesome real estate class, and it's just been a pleasure meeting you all.
Thank you, India. Guys, it's so amazing how God works. I mean,
Yeah.
I met Pastor Sherry, I think in January. February also. Yeah, January. Right, Pastor Sherry? It seems like it was longer than that. January?
At the end of January. Yeah, in January.
January. I met the other two ladies in February. And then I met India in March. And I said, I'm gonna have you ladies on my show to talk. Like I don't know, God moved on me to share my story in the real estate class. And when I did, they shared with me that they had similar stories. And so I said, we're gonna do a show about it. And so here we are doing a show about it. And so if you don't know who I am Dr. Melissa Nolan Chester. I am 47 years young. I am a former college professor turned real estate broker and real estate agent and real estate instructor. But I taught on the collegiate level for many years. And I also run the national nonprofit, Black Educators Rock. And so that is what I currently do. Excited about what I do. I'm always excited about teaching, no matter what the subject matter is. I'm always somebody who wants to share information and share knowledge because I want to see everybody win. And so I'm always trying to do that. And so here I am with these 4 phenomenal women who have, I always tell people it's not about quantity, it's about quality. People with kindred spirits, you connect with them. And so these ladies I connected with. And so I'm excited about having them on the show tonight. And so, ladies, I'm going to first start off just asking you to just I want you just to tell me who you are. I want to hear how you define who you are. So tell me who you are. So I want you guys to talk to me about who you are as Black women. Who are you? So anybody that wants to start can start.
Well, it's India. I first define myself as a mom, first and foremost. It means the world to me. I have 6 kids, and I love every last one of them, broad age range. I absolutely love the fact that I can have RN behind my name. I worked really hard to become a nurse. It was a lot of obstacles, and a lot of the things I experienced with domestic violence did happen while I was in that school, and it was some challenges there. But I'm strong. I conquer things, and I don't give up, and I keep going because I say if I don't get to do nothing else, I just want to inspire someone else at minimum to keep going. So it's not about, how many times you fall. Just get up, learn a lesson, keep going.
Thank you, India. Next.
Can you hear? Okay.
Go ahead, because
Pastor
I'm
Sherry.
trying to get this to work.
Go
Okay.
ahead, Pastor Sherry.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
That is a great question. I really define myself as a mother, a pastor, a woman of God, one that serves. A servant is the best way that I can put it, because my greatest passion is to help. No matter if it's women, my family, whoever, it's always to help. So I would say that when I define myself, it's a servant. That's the greatest word I can use, a servant.
Sharice?
I define myself as a strong Black woman because I've been through a lot of things from when I was a child all the way until now. I'm a survivor, and I am a woman that inspires other women. I have kids that have been through the same situation as me, and I've helped some of them out of their situations by even letting them come stay at my home, you know. And I'm just, I have a big heart, and I'm a lover, not a fighter, but you know, I'm just here to just help people when I can.
Thank you, Sharice. Haley. Can you
I
hear us,
define
Haley?
myself as a strong Black woman because I personally feel like I'm a problem solver. Like, it doesn't matter what the issue is, I'm always trying to help somebody solve their issues. And as far as, it doesn't even matter. Like, I'm sorry, I'm just so everywhere right now because this isn't really working for me. I just lost my train of thought. I define myself as a strong Black woman because I am a problem solver. I help my friends and everything as much as I can. I love to, like, I just like to just be there for people and inspire people. I always tell my friends, you know, live your best life, go out, see the world, do what you want to do, live your life, don't stay stagnant. Just like live out your life the best way you can and just live. There's so much to live for out here.
Thank you, Haley. Well, if I had to define myself, I definitely would define myself as a mommy. I am definitely a mommy. I am a lover of children in general. I've always liked children, even before I had them. I had them later in life. I had my babies in my mid 30s, which we consider later in life. But before then, I had tons of godchildren, nieces and nephews, both by bloodline and by just love, by just adopting them. I am someone, I know that I am a teacher. I know that God gave me the gift of teaching, of sharing knowledge. I know that's who I am as well. I think I'm someone who's full of life. I think that I love life and I love people. And I think that sometimes I allow that love to overshadow thought processes when I should be doing something different. I'm doing something else because of the love that I have for people. I know that I want more for people a lot of times than they want for themselves. I am a supporter. I believe in supporting everyone, but especially the Black woman. I am in love with the Black woman. I'm in love with us as a people. I'm in love with us as a gender. And I'm excited every time I see Black women like you all who know who they are. They know who they are. They know what they want. And they're living that. They're not hiding from that. And so that is who I would say that I am. And so I'm really excited about being that, you know. And so with that being said, would you say that, and we're going to get into our conversation, but would you say that the way that you define yourself is the way that others would define you too? Because I know sometimes the way that we see ourselves is not how others see us.
Yes, I definitely do. I know that people see me as everything that I just stated because I hear it all the time.
Well, that's good that you deal with people who confirm, who
Hmm.
affirm, confirm, and give you your flowers while you're living. We know that's one thing that we said, you have to give people their flowers while they're living. Pastor Sherry, were you going to say something?
Yes, and I have to say the same. People have, and I shy back from it, but people say, my goodness, you are such a giver, so much so you don't even like to receive. You are such a servant. You just always want to serve and help. So people have confirmed that. And I'm getting a little bit more secure in that. I love doing it, but you know, sometimes you shy away, like, okay, I don't want to, you know, bring any attention. I just want to do, I don't want anybody to know, that type of thing. So yeah, I would have to say that people.
Haley?
And I would say the same thing. Like, all of my friends knew that they could count on me for anything. If they were on the side of the street with a flat tire at 2 a.m, they're gonna call me. Like, they just knew that they could depend on me for anything, whether they needed money, whether they needed formula or diapers for their baby. They knew I was gonna come through with no matter what. Just because, like I said, when it comes down to it, I like to be a problem solver, so I like to help people fix their issues.
In India.
I think people would definitely agree with me. I think anybody who's known me for more than 5 minutes know that I absolutely love children. I mean, I have a lot of them, and I'm a pediatric nurse. And it just seems like my whole life it's just been, children either in the room or like I'm teaching them something or encourage them to do something, just trying to lift them up and empower the youth, even from like 3, my daughter, the youngest one's like 3. I'm still trying to, hey, we can read this, we can draw this, we can color this. So I think people would definitely agree with that aspect that I'm a caretaker and always a mom first, most definitely.
Okay, thank you, ladies, for those answers. And so, before we get into just the real conversation that we're here about tonight, I want to ask you before we start that conversation, just how are you doing? Like, how are you? Like, I noticed that, I don't know if you guys noticed, but when we define ourselves about how we give and do everything for others. We don't just define ourselves. All of our adjectives, they're dependent on others and external things. And so, which means, like you said, I'm a problem solver, I'm a giver, I like to assist with children, my friends can depend on me, etc. But we know that women, Black women specifically, we are the worst at taking care of ourselves because we are always taking care of others. We are always pouring into others. And so I just want to ask you all, how are you doing? And so talk to me a little bit tonight about how you are, your mental space, your physical space. How are you doing? I want to check in with you before we move on.
Right now, I feel pretty good. I mean, I've never been on a platform like this before, and I don't really, yeah, right, it's odd. And I don't have any social media, so this is exciting for me. I've been, studying, hitting the books, and always one thing or another. And but I've really, in the past, I would say 5 weeks, been trying to also just work on myself. Just things that you remember from before, things that have left an imprint on who you are. I just try and I've always worked on trying to turn those, trying to find something positive out of something negative, pull a lesson out of something bad or something good. So today I'm doing okay. I'm doing good. Yeah, I mean, like, my mood's good.
Good. Thank you, India. Next.
For the first time in my life, I'm 37 years old, and it's the first time in my life that I'm focusing on myself. From the age of 21 years old, I was married to a man that had 3 kids, and it was just all about him and his kids. And after that, I was single for a little bit, for probably like a year, and then I had another boyfriend. And like, I always end up with someone that has kids. I love kids. So I never focused on myself. And then my second marriage, I ended up marrying a guy to help him. He was a friend of mine, to help him get his papers. But I wasn't happy. Like, I was doing something for somebody else that wasn't even making me happy, And right now, I'm in such a good space in my life that I honestly, I feel really good about it. And I feel like I'm finally doing something for myself. And my fear of going back to school, Dr. Chester just changed that like 360, because she makes it so easy to learn. And she knows I sat in the front of her class, and she seen it on my face. I was worried, but she always encouraged me, and it just motivated me to just keep doing what I got to do for myself, and always put myself first. So
Thank you, Cherie.
You're welcome.
I feel like I'm in the best place in my life that I have been. I forgot to say, and when I introduced myself, that I had just.
What'd she do? Hold on, she just talking. You said that you
okay. I got it on the computer now.
Oh, much better.
Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. I forgot to say that I had moved away from my hometown in Indiana, just because I just felt like I was too comfortable. I was still staying with my mom and everything. And I just didn't have that. I had the desire, I knew all the things that I wanted. I just didn't have nothing, making me go do it. So I knew, like, moving myself out of my comfort zone and putting myself where I had to actually work and grind, that, I would just be in a better place. And I just feel like ever since moving away, I'm just at peace. Like, I don't have to worry about anybody. I just am focusing on myself and just making sure I can take care of myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to have to depend on anybody to take care of me. I want to be able to just do for myself and make sure I'm happy. So that way, if the time comes where I meet somebody, I'm not worried about them making me happy.
Thank you, Haley. Pastor Sherry. Oh, I don't know if she hit the wrong button. She'll come back. She'll come back and tell us how she is. Well, I can tell you guys, one, I'm tired, but I'm good. I'm good. Because of what my passion is, you guys already know that because I enjoy teaching, I teach all the time. So either I'm teaching real estate or I'm teaching my agents because I'm the managing broker at a brokerage. I'm always doing something with teaching, which makes you tired because if you're a good teacher to me, you put a lot into it. And so it has made me tired, but I am in a good place and space as it relates to me. Like India said, you know, you have lasting effects of certain things, and you have to be honest about and acknowledge how those things have impacted and they influence your decision making and how you respond to people, etc. And so I'm always doing self checks about that. And so um, learning how to pull back a little bit from always just everybody else, and learn how to just at least take a few hours just to focus on me. So I'm learning. Pastor Sherry?
Yes, I have to say, me as well. I am learning that, and let me tell you, that's a hard lesson. It's very hard to focus in on yourself when you are so used to taking care of other people and focusing in on other people. I tell you, that's a job in itself to pull back. So I want to commend all of you for, learning and mastering that craft to be able to focus on you. This is the first year that I'm doing that as well, that I'm learning to just step back and say, okay, it's okay. You can go shopping by yourself. You don't have any children you have to buy diapers for anymore. So yeah, it's good. I'm good.
Okay, awesome sauce. I'm happy to hear that you ladies are good. So now we're going to talk about some moments in our time in our life when we weren't so good. We're going to talk about how we came to be in some of the situations that we were in, and just what were our thought processes. And we're going to talk about how we overcame them. And so, whoever wants to start first can just give us a little background of their situation, their circumstance, how they think it came to be.
I'd like to start out.
Okay.
My situation was, I don't remember verbatim, but my mom was a person that was a victim of domestic violence. And I saw it a little bit. And you would be surprised how in your life you find yourself seeking out that without really realizing in your subconscious that you're seeking out that same type of man, or you end up with that same type of person. And it just so happens that that happened to me. I am a Bible believing woman of God, and the gentleman that I end up marrying was a pastor. And it just went left. I mean, horrible. However, wonderful things came out of that. Out of your worst situations, great things can come out of that, and great things did come out of that with me. I never had to have any therapy. I was never on drugs. I never went to the streets. I never lost it. I have been very blessed, unlike most women that I have counseled that have been through the same thing. So it came to be. I saw the signs. I saw the signs, but I ignored the signs because of my love for that person. My love for that person just superseded every sign that was given to me. And so once it just got into 15 years of that, then I came to say, okay, this has to stop, because I had children and they're all girls. So for me, it was, I don't want them to come up thinking this is the type of behavior that's acceptable. And so that was my breaking point.
Thank you, Pastor Sherry. Next. Haley, you want me to unmute you? I'm unmuting you.
Okay. I feel like I came into my situation because growing up in school, I just went to school. I just focused on school. I did sports. So that was like my main focus. I didn't really date in high school. I didn't really do much of any of that. So it was like once I got out into the real world and I got a boyfriend, it was just like, I guess I didn't really know what to expect. And same as Pastor Sherry, like I watched my mom go through, she was with a drunk, and I watched her go through, domestic violence and all of that. And I don't know if that's what made me stick around or what the case may be, but I just feel like it's because I just wasn't experienced and I was so young, and I just stuck around because it was my first relationship and I just wanted it to work out, like I just wanted to be with him. And no matter what I said, no matter what I did, nothing would change. Like they would say they would change, and then it would be the same. And then they would be like, okay, buy you things. They try to buy your love. And I don't know. It just felt like I was just so young, and I guess I had to learn the hard way, basically. I had to learn, and I'm glad that I learned at a young age so I don't have to put myself through something like that ever again.
Thank you, Haley. Next.
So, probably about a couple of years ago, I was with a guy, and this probably doesn't matter, but I've only experienced bad domestic violence situations with the only two Spanish guys that I've ever dealt with. But the guy that I was with, everything was fine, and then I know he was very jealous, very, very jealous. He didn't want me to do anything with my friends. It was really bad. And then one day out of nowhere, he hit me, and I was like so shocked and I was like, I'm not dealing with this. This is over. And he would not leave me alone. He begged me. He sat on my porch for 10 hours. Like, it was just really, really bad. And, he told me he would never do it again. And, we kept trying to have a relationship. And then he hit me again. And then that time he told me I better not ever leave him or else he's going to kill me. And he gave me his word on that. And I've been around him. I was already around him. And I've heard conversations between him and his cousins in Mexico. So I was scared. So that's why I didn't leave him. But last year I was at like my breaking point, and I was like, I don't even care no more. You're just going to have to kill me because I'm leaving. So one day I was working at a doctor's office in Fort Lauderdale, and I didn't even tell him that I was leaving. I had already packed up and everything. And during the time that I was supposed to be working from 9 to 5, I packed up the U-Haul truck and I came to Jacksonville, and I have not heard from him. And I changed my number. So, yeah.
Thank you. India.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there we go. I was trying to find the unmute button. But I think I feel like my journey has been so long. I was in, obviously, I graduated high school. I went into the military. And before I went into the military, I had a fiance, and I was like, because the military rules are just so strict, I wanted him to be able to come with me. I didn't want to be without him. So we got married, and then a week later, I went to basic training, and we were apart for 2 months. So obviously when, we got back together, we were happy, we were excited. We're like, oh, we're going to get our own place and everything, because they had just gave me permission, even though I was like new. They're like, oh yeah, sure, you can stay off base. And we were just elated. But I think it really started taking a turn when I noticed the attitude changing. And I realize now, I didn't realize then, but now I realize that, he was dealing with his stuff in a negative way. And by me being his wife, that meant I had to absorb all that. I became the punching bag. I became the target. And I asked myself plenty of times over the years, even today, like, why would I deal with that? And it's like, because at the time, I felt like I was just so in love with him that I felt like I can just love him through it. I can love him back to normal. And, now I know better. I know that was not going to happen. It was not a me issue. It's a him issue. But, hopefully he's done better. But like I said, there was a lot of bad things I experienced. And it was my first time being away from home ever. Like, I grew up in Jacksonville. So for me to be like several states away from everybody I know, like, isolating me wasn't hard. And, it becomes like they isolate you, you allow them to isolate, you get isolated. And then before you know it, you're around other people and you're not saying anything. It just becomes your normal, and that became my normal. And then, arguments get worse, and, violence get worse, and those type of things escalate. And then, I finally had the strength to leave, and because I got tired, just like you, Sharice, I'm tired, and fed up. I like the phrase fed up. And my goal, I said, is I'm never going to be with anyone like that again. Never. I know exactly what to look for. Well, I fell into it again. And sometimes, like, how did that happen twice? I should know the warning signs. But, we don't, I understand now, we don't always know the warning signs because some people are just that good at hiding. They come off so charming and so kind and so nice and so thoughtful and so protective and making you laugh and all these great things. And I'm like, that's just how they pull you in. And with, that second relationship, that kind of just that probably went bad like 9 months into it. And, I didn't leave for like 6 years, and we already had kids. So I was like, that makes the situation that much more intense because it's kind of like, you want to do great by your kids. Is that leaving, or is that trying to help the person that you love get better through counseling and all these things, and then trying to do self-healing, and things like that. And but ultimately it came down to the kids, and it is still something that I deal with today, probably like many of you ladies. I had to go to court plenty of times for injunctions and violation of injunctions, and it's sad when you go enough enough. But like I said, I took a lesson from every single thing, and I think even though I went through those things, it makes me a stronger person. And I try and spread the strength around to other people, and talk to my girls and talk to my son, don't be this way, and talk to my girls and be like, don't accept this, don't accept that type of behavior. With everything I went through, I can still give, I can still teach, I can still educate, other women and young girls, like, oh, those are some red flags. Those might be some warning signs you might want to look out for, so that's kind of just where I'm at. I just ultimately want to help people.
Thank you. So you ladies, I'm going to talk a little bit about my situation, but it's always like certain similarities to it. It's like, so my situation, I wasn't young like some of you guys were. And I've always been like a hellion, like a pistol. I was always the girl that, that's kind of like the bully because I was the tomboy Haley. And so you never could have told me that I would end up in a relationship where someone would be putting their hands on me. Like, not me, not my personality. But we were friends first. So we were actually friends. Like, we were homies. Like, we hung out. I mean, I knew some of the girls he dated. And he got me because, again, I love children. So, Sharice, that was my thing. He had 3 children. And a couple of the children called me godmama, godmommy, because they were my babies. I was in love with his children. And some type of way, we allowed it to go from friendship to romantic. And initially, it was great. It was like you said. I mean, he was wining and dining, cooking dinner, wine. He was very romantic. And of course, now I realize what all that was about. It was just, he was just prepping. Predators know how to they know how to get their prey ready. And so, and I should have, there were warning signs, like Pastor Sherry said. I saw warning signs, but for whatever reason, I ignored them. Like, his mother was an alcoholic. His, he had a sister who was addicted to crack, and he was very mean to them. Like, and I guess in my mind, because of their backgrounds and what they were going through, like that kind of maybe justified his frustration or how he used to speak to them. But if a man would talk to his mom a certain way, what would he care about me? But at that time, I always tell people that I used to, when I talk to my babies at FAMU, I would say, because I would tell my students at FAM about it. When we got into, I taught health at FAMU for many, many years, along with some other topics. But when we got to the domestic violence and relationships chapters, I would always tell them, God gives you little signs. He's slapping you on your wrist, but we don't pay attention to the slaps on the wrist. Like, hey, get away from that, until we get hit, slap in the face. And sometimes that's literally until we get punched in our face. And so those signs were there, India, Sharice, they were there, but I ignored them because this was my friend, and it's because of who they are as women. And it was like you, Sharice. It was like, I don't even remember how it was. I think we were in the car one day or something, and something happened, and we were having a conversation, and something happened, but I remember him just slapping me. And I was like, what the, you don't lost your mind. I slapped him back, and we kind of had a fight. It wasn't like why did you hit me? It was like, boy, you got your, and it was like a tussle. It was and just like you, no, I'm not doing, we're not doing this. It's not what we doing. And I would leave, and he would come back begging, stay around, hours calling, but he used the children a lot on me. Like when I would want to leave, he would have the kids calling me, God, Mommy, we miss you. We haven't seen you. And a lot of times my going back was not about me. It was about the babies. It wasn't about him. But it got to a point one day where I was speaking to someone, the next guy that I actually ended up dating, and he said to me, because I was like, but I love the kids. And he was like, hey, you got to love yourself more than you love those kids, or you're not going to be here for those kids. And that was like, he's right. I have to love me more than I love his children. And that was my wake up call to kind of get out of that. I literally had to leave the city. I left the city and moved to Gainesville to get away from him. So he followed me there. He popped up there one time. So, I mean, it was a very, very tumultuous off and on relationship for about 3.5 years. It was very, very tumultuous. I mean, I literally told him, like, you made me a Lifetime story. Like, I'm a Lifetime movie. You made me a Lifetime movie. But I allowed you to, right? Because if I would have left the first time, I couldn't have had all the other incidences, because I didn't leave. And so, oh my gosh, there's so many incidences that I could tell you about that were just like, people would not believe some of the things that I've gone through with that guy. And so, so it was someone telling me I needed to love myself more than I loved his children. And that was my wake up call. Yes. So
I just want to add to what I was saying, Dr. Chester, like your story is like so similar to mine, because my first husband, I was 21 years old. And the first time he put his hands on me, I was 22. And we were sitting in the car and we were arguing about something. And he punched me on the side of the head and my head hit the window. And I turned around and we started fighting. We was in the car fighting. And I was able to get out the car and I ran. And he chased after me. He grabbed me by my hair and he was hitting me. And we was fighting in the street. And it was like 2:00 in the morning. And then I got away from him, and he doesn't have no respect for his mom. Like, he curses his mom out, and I should have known. I should have known to have left him then, because we were at his mom's house, and I tried to hop in the car, and he came and he slung the door open, and he dragged me in the house by my hair, and his mom came in the room. He made me get naked, so I couldn't run out of the house.
That happened to me one time. He did the same thing to me. Yeah.
He made me get naked. He got naked, and he was like, "You're not gonna be able to run nowhere." And he's like the other guy. He told me too, if I ever leave him, he's gonna kill me. And his mom, like he was choking me. I was in bed, and he was choking me. I couldn't breathe. And so his mom heard it, and so she came in the room, and it was just like, it was the craziest situation. In that moment, I was like, how am I going through this? My mom told me that if a man ever puts his hands on you, you leave. my daddy put his hands on my mom one time and she left, you know, and the reason why, and the reason why I mainly stayed is because of his kids. I would have divorced him after that, but I stayed with him 5 more years. And even after I divorced him, I was still in his kids' life for another 2 years. And then I didn't see them for like 3 years. And then I went back into their life because the daughter reached out to me on Facebook. And then the son was in some legal trouble, and I helped him with a lawyer and everything because he didn't have no guidance. Like it was just really bad. And like, it's just your situation just reminded me of mine so much. So yeah.
Like some of this, like you said about the naked thing. I remember having that situation where he was trying to ensure that I didn't leave, and just so many similarities. Like you said, being choked, almost passing out. He actually broke my nose. He headbutted me one time and broke my nose, and I was like,
Wow.
that was like the thing that made me leave and move to Gainesville. I was like, because I remember I pulled the gun on. I was like, I'll kill you. He was like, well, if I'm not with you, I may as well die. Like it was just so toxic.
Oh,
It was one of those
yes.
toxic. I mean, I don't even like. I mean, there would be times, and I was working on my PhD at Florida State. Nobody knew that I was going through this. I had a girlfriend, and I should have had her on here today because I don't know if she remembered, but she and I used to be talking because our two guys were friends, and we would be having conversation, y'all, like comparing whoopings, like comparing fights. And I remember one day I was like, "Do you hear us?" And she was like, "What?" I was like, "Do you hear us? Like we're talking about this like this is normal. Like, oh girl, he bit me on my hand. Oh girl, he." And I was like, "Listen to what we're saying." I was like, we both were like, "Yeah, we got to get out of these relationships," and we made promises to each other to get out, and both of us ended up getting out of those relationships. But it was crazy, and maybe it was because, like you said, you don't realize subconsciously how watching it when you're young or experiencing it when you were young, because there was a couple like my mom and dad had issues, but I was an infant. My mom, like you said, my mom put a stop to it quick. My daddy never was like that again. It was over quick. But and they weren't together. My mom and dad broke up when I was 2 years old, so they were never married. But there was a couple that lived in the projects where we grew up at, and they used to fight all the time. And she ended up killing him. She ended up stabbing him to death in front of us. He ended up dying in front of us on the playground because she had gotten enough, had reached her point. And you just wonder if were those things normalizing it in your head, like did it make it normal for you?
I,
So
I believe so, Dr. Chester. I keep going in and out because it's a terrible storm here. It's like raining crazy here. So
oh,
forgive me for going. It's storming like crazy here. But I totally agree. I think that when situations just continue to happen or you start to see those situations, you really begin to think or feel like that's your normal, because in all actuality, it really is. Um, when you create a pattern, when a pattern is created for you or a pattern happens, it does become your normal, and you start to think that this is normal. Even if other people are telling you or saying to you, you need to get out of that. That wasn't my situation. In my situation, um, I believed in strong marriages. I believed in the institution of marriage. And so for me, it was, I'm going to hang in here. I want husband and wife, mother and father in the home. I was stuck in that place. And so I was willing to do whatever to make sure that that dream I had in my head was going to be, instead of looking at the situation for what it really was. It was toxic. It was awful. It was, there were love periods, there was, but again, we have to also look at what happens to the male. Why are they treating us this way? What's going on? And for my situation, he saw his father do the same thing. So it was a generational thing going on. And it doesn't excuse the behavior, but it explains the behavior. And again, the signs were there, but I just knew what I had to do for my daughters and to make sure that they came to understand that's not the right behavior. And now I'm on a quest to like helping women that are going through the same thing and making sure that if they talk to me just in passing or they talk to me just, as we having conversations and they share a little bit of something and it triggers something for me, that I begin to share with them what, listen, you can do how you want to, but let me tell you what's going to happen here. And I'm just like on a quest. And then I start to researching and counseling women and husbands that are experiencing this type of situation. The domestic violence, it's terrible. I mean, as I said, with the research, you have, especially the Black women, 54% of Black women have not just physical abuse, but psychological abuse. And believe it or not, that psychological abuse ends up leading into the physical. Those are one of the signs. The way they talk to you, the way they speak to you. That's one of the signs. But we ignore that because it's, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. I had a rough day at work today. I apologize, baby. Wow, it's just a lot of stress on me. Okay, yeah, yeah. And then what we do, we say, oh, it's okay, baby. I understand. It's all right. But it's not okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. So
Yeah, what you said. Yeah, go ahead.
we really have to really look at that. And I, like I said, the ages that's on here. I am so excited, especially for Haley, for all of you, but Haley at her age and India, Sharice, y'all, you all at your age, to be able to see and get out of it. I stayed in it for 20 years. Where you all, you're looking at it and you're saying, I'm not doing that. And so I tell you, if I had a weave, my weave, I'd take my weave off to you. Cause I mean, I'm just telling you, you are amazing women. You are much stronger than I was at your age. And I commend you on tonight. I commend you, even you, Dr. Chester. I commend you ladies on tonight because you have great courage and great strength. I'm telling you, it's women out there now that I mean, they're in a bad way. They really are. 1 out of 3 women, and you can't excuse the men too. You have men that are being abused as well. But we're dealing with women. 1 out of 3 women are abused in their relationships in this country. And then 54% of that is Black women. Like how does that's awful. And it lets me know there's no help. There's nobody out there. They don't feel like they have the help.
Well, you said something key, and I know this was one of the things. This is how ours turned physical. And like I said, it was my fault. People always say, "Oh, you don't hate him. You didn't do this to him. You didn't do that." And I would tell them that to do that to him or to hate him is to hate myself because I played a part in that. If I didn't lead the first time, then it's my fault, just like it's his fault. But what I noticed about him, Pastor Sherry, India, Haley, and Sharice, he was trying to break me mentally. And when he couldn't, it turned physically. It turned physical. Because he would try, and I'm like, I just know you don't think that you can get me with that. But then when I looked at some of his past relationships, he was mentally controlling a lot of women, like they were very subservient to him. They were very like, well, he said I can't do this. No, like, girl. And now when I'm thinking about it, meeting some of his girlfriends, well, he don't like them. Like, girl, ain't nobody stuff what he say, never ever really paying attention to the fact that he was trying to psychologically manipulate me. And then I think he got so frustrated, Sharice, because he couldn't. Because, like I said, it was an argument because I'm not agreeing with what you said. And like you said, he just kind of hit. And I was like, what the? And it was all because you didn't like that I wasn't agreeing with you, right? Because you couldn't get me to say what you wanted me to say. And so it definitely, I agree, Pastor Sherry, it does start psychologically and then it transitions into physical. And, that psychological, both are they're very traumatizing. They're both very
Absolutely,
traumatizing.
absolutely. And you all were fighting, like you said, you all fought back. I wasn't the fighter. I would just take the whooping. I wasn't the fighter. I was the one that would take the whooping. But then when I got tired, because you have to, and you know, another thing is that we as women, until we make the choice, people can tell us all day long, you need to get out of that. No, you shouldn't be in that situation. If I was you, I would do this. Now they've never been in a situation now, but they telling you, you shouldn't take that. You this, you that. And you like, yeah, you're right. And you have your periods of feeling sorry for yourself and trying to rationalize the situation. You have those periods. And
So,
nobody
Pastor
can do
Sherry, you said something I want to ask about. For me, nobody knew that I was going through what I was going through except one person. He's deceased now, and it was my he ended up being like my goddaddy. He was a professor at my university, Dr. Ramsey. He was the only person that knew. Like this guy was the most charming guy, Sharice. Everybody, you could not. People thought this guy was the friendliest guy. Oh, he's the life of the party. Da, da, da. He was the only person that knew. So he was the only person that was telling me to get out. But I was too embarrassed to tell anybody. I like. No, nobody knew but his children and his family. My mom didn't even know. Nobody on my family knew because they would have lost it. They probably would have came down there
Yeah.
and wrecked. And
Yes.
so it was
Yeah,
nobody to
my
tell me
family didn't know
but my
either,
professor.
but all of his family knew, and people in the church knew. The people that were close to me knew. So it was a little village that knew. And it you know, you'd be surprised how people say, you know, just you know, because back in the day, you know, women took that. They took that abuse out of fear, and they took the abuse, and they were afraid to tell, and they hid it, and all of that. And so
I want to ask the other
it was
ladies, did all of you guys did you, because like Pastor Pierre said, in her environment, her culture, it was kind of like, hey, you know, it's gonna work out. Did people know outside of you? Like, did your main circles know with you?
As far as I was saying, as far as like a main circle, I didn't have one. He made sure I didn't have one, and both guys made sure I didn't have one, and they went out of their way to when I would try and make friends or like couple dates, you know, they would deliberately act up to embarrass me, or they would be mean and aggressive. And I'm like, how come the couple never called us back? You know, how about we hang out? And I don't want to, you know, all this stuff. But I think with both of them, alcohol played a huge factor in it, along with, I guess, other illicit drugs they picked up. But alcohol was a major factor. Everybody know it can change their mood, and I think that was a reason that they often used the excuse of why their temper got out of control. And it's just like, it does start psychologically, because I feel like that's the first way they got to control you. They got to get you to fall in love. They got to get you to trust them. They got to get you to want to be with them. And then they start making little snide comments, and then it turns violent. You're like, whoa, how'd that happen? And then they apologize, and then you accept the apology, and then it does become normal. For me, it became very normal. So by the time I even left the first marriage and got to the second relationship, it was shocking, but I kind of had the mentality of it's not anything I haven't dealt with before, and it's not as bad as the last time. But over time, it got worse. And you know, you have kids, and it gets worse, and you have another kid, and it gets worse, and it just never gets any better until they decide, you know, they really want to get help. But just like, you know, you ladies, and when it becomes normal for your, and this is my first husband, to say, I will protect you, I love you, no one would ever hurt you, you would die by my hands only. And for me to accept that and think that that is the way things should be when I was 19, you know, it's just 20, 21. Like, it's shocking to me now that I can even like think that that was normal, you know. And you know, right now is, you know, and with the on to the second, you know, bad relationship, that was something else. I can say the first one was about a 6 out of 10, and the second one was about a 9.5 out of 10. I mean, when you hear an officer tells you, because he's responding to a call, you know, where it's like, the next time I come here, you're either, these are only 3 ways it's going to happen if you don't walk away now. Someone's going to be in the hospital, someone's going to be in jail, or somebody's going to be in the grave. And he's like, if I'm betting, you're going to be in the grave. So it was a wake-up call. It was a reality check. And, you know, I took big steps. I didn't take ginormous steps, but I took big steps, you know, through through the courts. You got to. You got to get in front of the judge. You got to get, those injunctions for anybody watching this. And, you need to be protected. You need to protect yourself. Lashing out at them is only going to get you in trouble. And you're going to be in the back of a cop car. But you got to let the legal system now. You got to let them handle that person as much as you possibly can. Because, like I said, I still have to deal with one just constantly violating injunctions. But it's like, violate them. Go ahead. You want to violate them, that's on you. Everybody knows, but you just stay strong. Stay strong. I'm tough. Like,
well, kudos to you, India, because I never wanted to get him in trouble. We had that mentality in black communities. Oh, I don't want to be the person that he have something on his record. I don't want to. So we would, not want to involve the police for protecting them. So I know you were going to say something, Cherie.
Yeah, for my first marriage that I was in, only two of my close friends knew what I was going through. Like my sister, my mom, like nobody in my family like knew what I was going through. And it came to a point where I didn't even tell them anything because I'm over here looking stupid because I'm still with him, And so for my second relationship, he put me through the most as far as physical abuse. Me and him used to fight a lot. And I was fighting back. And it got bad. It got really bad. And he was on probation. And he had already spent 7 years in prison. And he was on probation. And I didn't want to send him back to prison. And he missed more time out with his kids.
Same.
That's why I never called the police on him. I even went as so far as to go make they give you like this little card, a case number. And if you want to go and file it, you can. So I only got to that part where I went to the police, like my boyfriend won't leave me alone. And they gave me a case number twice, but I never followed through with it. And I just never wanted to send him to jail. And like with that situation, only my two friends at the time knew about that. And it came to a point where my friend was like, she was like, listen, if you don't leave him, like, just stop talking about it. Like, just because I would continuously go back. I don't know what possessed me to keep being with him, but it was like he would not leave me alone. He would show up at my job. He would show up at my house. He even came over there with his daughter. He broke my gate to where I live just to get into my complex where I live. Was banging on my door, banging on my window. I still have recordings, which I need to delete them because I was going to use all this evidence against him in case I would have had to call the police. But I'm just so glad that situation is over because it was really, really bad. Like he left scars on my face. I have one right here on my neck. It was bad. And like we was fighting. Like two dudes.
The same way over here, like two dudes. Yeah. I mean, I remember one time I was like, hey, I don't want to hear that. Like I literally put my hand up and turned my head. No lie, this dude bit my hand open. He bit a plug in my hand. Because I was like, I don't want to hear that. Like he was, like you said, we were fighting like two guys. Like we were. I mean, I had scratches. He had scratches.
Yeah.
It was really, really bad. It was really, really bad. I was
laying in the bed and I wasn't responding the way he wanted to. Never in a million years I thought this man would just jump on me and start choking me. He just jumped on me out of nowhere and started choking me. And I was like, while we were talking, I was in the process of taking my nails off. So I'm biting my nails off. So when you bite your nails off and you have acrylic, they're all jagged. They're not like straight no more. When he jumped on me and started choking me, I just clawed at his face. He had blood dripping down his face. When he noticed he had blood dripping down from his face, that's when he got off of me. But, I'm glad that's over.
Haley, do you want to know about your situation?
Yeah, so as far as me, like the first time it happened, I had told my mom and I had told my dad. And my dad was like, he was in the streets. He's the king out here in the streets. So I knew if something went wrong, to tell him. And, he took me down to the police station and everything. And, they took pictures and I just didn't end up going through with it. But my dad thought, he was going to handle it himself. You know what I'm saying? So it got to a point where we ended up running into him somewhere, and he was calling his people, like, they're up here, blah, blah, blah. So it got to the point where I had to like talk him out of it. I'm like, it is what it is. I chose to go back. I actually lied and was like, he didn't do it. I did it to myself. Like, it wasn't like that. I just wanted to get him in trouble, like, I just wanted him to leave me alone. And it was a couple of times I had to call the police on him. It was like one time, and I really didn't want to get him in trouble either, because he had just got out of prison. He had only been out of prison for like a year and a half, and I didn't really want to get him in trouble. And we were on a vacation, and I don't even remember what we were fighting about. He didn't hit me on the vacation, but like I like played through his phone, and he like really chucked my phone across the room, and it shattered into like a million pieces. So it was like, it just like really upset me. And then like we were driving, and I was like, he just wouldn't leave me alone. He kept like agonizing me and just messing with me. I'm like, if you don't stop, I'm just gonna call the police. Like, you just need to leave me alone. And I had called them, and he was on probation and stuff, and he wasn't supposed to be out the state. So he's like, you really gonna do that to me? Like, you're calling them, and I'm not even supposed to be out of the state. And if something happens to me, something's gonna happen to you, and just all of this stuff. So I just dropped it. But once I told my mom, I'm a really private person, so I don't really like sharing my business with people. So I told my mom, and then she told my cousin. And where I'm from, there's these people called the Hells Angels. So basically it's like a big group of white bikers. And my cousin was like, if I find out he does this again, I'm going to send every Hells Angels through his house, and like all of this. So like once I realized, once I said something the first time, I just never said anything again. Like, other than that, I really didn't tell my friends. There was a couple times my friends had to come and like get us together, like, because we were fighting so bad, I didn't know what to do. Like, so I just called my friends, and they would come and try to like simmer the situation down. But in the end, they ended up using that information against me. You know what I'm saying? So it just turned me to just never tell anybody ever again. Like, I just dealt with it till I was done dealing with it. And then I just finally had the courage to I decided, like, we went on a vacation with my family, and I told myself this would be my break from him from a week. And I'm going to just use this time to clear my mind. And when I come back, I'm just not going to deal with him anymore. And that's exactly what I did.
Pastor Sherry, you were going to say something
You know
before.
what, Dr. Chester? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Pastor Sherry, go ahead. Can you hear us?
I really believe too. Oh, okay. I believe too that we don't tell our families, because we know that within ourselves, we really, really are not going to walk away. And we know once we release that to our families, like the closest people to us, and we know, just like you said, you tell your family, and that's it, they coming for them. So we don't say anything, because it's like, okay, subconsciously, we're like, we're not really going to be done with them. We want to be done with them because we know it's wrong.
I think for me, no, it wasn't that. It was for me. Like, I think that women, we want to believe in the I'm sorry, that is going, that there would not be a next time.
That too.
Because it never was for me that I knew that I knew that they would make me walk away. It was more so embarrassment, like me. Like, you just have to know my personality. Like, me, I'm getting hit by a man. Me? No, I couldn't tell anybody because of the shame and the embarrassment. It was too embarrassing.
That wasn't my case.
Shameful for me.
Okay. That wasn't my case. I was afraid of what they would do and how they will respond. So, and that was, my kid's father. It's like, I don't want any trouble. I want to, keep the peace. I want to try to keep it together. So that was, that's my story. That's why I didn't say anything. And you have some people that,
it was shame. It was embarrassment, because my personality type, like I said, I'm like, I am 30. I think I was 31 when it happened. I was like, I'm in my 30s, and here I am thinking like I'm so old. And I was like, oh my God, I got all the way through my 20s and my teens, and this didn't happen. And now I'm in my 30s, and I let this happen. So I was like 31, and I was just like, I can't believe I let this happen. There was a question from one of our viewers. They wanted to know if any of you ever sought counseling.
I did. Yeah. My counseling was in the form of group with other. Again, I'm not a fan of the victim word, but women in my same situation. Group therapy. That's what helped most. Group, and I took some groups as well through the church, and that helped even more. And this is just, over the past few years. So I I just think groups work best because just like what we're doing in this platform, we're sharing stories. So you don't feel like you're alone and you don't feel isolated. Then you realize, oh, okay, I'm not just, crazy for staying. You're like, it's actually a lot of women and men, they stay. And it's more like platforms like this, even when this is over tonight, I'm going to be like, okay, well, what did I learn from it? What's the takeaway?
Anybody else?
I know all these years I have never shared this on a platform like this. So this for me is something. I have never, openly talked about it, on a platform in front of thousands of people or hundreds of people. I've never done this. So this is a first for me. And it's actually very freeing, actually it is.
Thank you for sharing.
I agree 100% because I honestly was nervous because I don't really like talking in front of people like this. And I know there's a lot of people watching, so it kind of made me nervous. But I feel like if I share my story, it may possibly help someone get out of their situation.
And I can tell you guys, for me, that's how it was for me, Sharice. When I taught on the collegiate level and I would tell those babies about what happened, they're crying and people would come to my office and say, hey, I'm going through this and hey, I'm going through that. And so it was a way for me to assist other young girls to get out of it, because they're like, if you can go through it, and you're strong and you're beautiful and you're this and that, then they feel like, that they can come out of it. Because again, I think it's a lot of embarrassment and shame. A lot. It's like, and so something that I've always been open to talk about. But it is my first time sharing it. Like I told you guys when I did it in your class, I was like, I don't know why God had me tell you all this in class. And that's when we all was like, oh my God, we all had the same story. But it was like God told me to share it with you all. And I had never shared it to the real estate class before. But I was like, I know you all see Dr. Chester, but I want you to know who Melissa is. And I talked about, the molestation, molestation and just all the things that I've gone through to get to the point that I am. And it was just about encouraging people to don't ever let anybody else write your story. You are the author of your story. Don't let people judge you by the chapter that they come in on, including yourself. It's just some, and then sometimes we have to understand that some chapters are meant to be turned, some books are meant to be closed. So I'm gonna always share. I'm never gonna be ashamed of what I experienced. And like you said, Sharice, and like you said, India, just in hopes that it helps somebody else, be that young, old, white, black, whatever. Because there was actually a white female in our class that actually came up to me after y'all class and was like, Dr. Chester, I'm so like this happened to me. And I was like, wow. It was 4 black women out of the class and 1 white female in a room full of, like Sherry, like you're saying, there were 24 to 26 people in that class. And 6 of us had been abused. 4 black females and me 5, and then 1 white female. And it wasn't all women in the class. And so this is something that happens that many of us don't talk about. And we do have to share these stories.
Right. And I feel like the men that I was with, they know that I didn't really have anyone to have my back, like a male figure to be able to come and be there for me. So it was just like, they just felt like they can do whatever. And like so many times I'm like, if I wanted to call somebody, who can I call? I can't even call anybody. Because I didn't have male friends when I was in a relationship. I did not have male friends because they were already jealous, and it was just like, it was a crazy situation. And one of my husbands, he was like, who are you going to call? Because I was like, give me my phone. And he was like, who are you going to call? You don't have nobody to call, and it was the worst feeling ever not to have anybody. And these men know that's abusing you. That's why they're doing what they're doing.
Veronica, you should have got on the show with us. I didn't know. I don't think I knew that about you. But if I would have known, I definitely would have told you to join this panel with us. Because I know I never thought I would either, but I did. But yeah, to your point, Sharice, I mean, he knew that I was a caregiver for my mom and my sisters. Like, I'm the independent one. There was no, my dad and I didn't have a relationship, So and I think he took advantage of knowing that there was nobody really to call. Like I said, if you heard me say it, it was my professor who's deceased now. He was the only person I could talk to about it. Like, he was the only person I knew. And I don't remember one day, I think he figured it out. He was like, something's not right. He was like, I don't like that dude. And I was like, well, and I told him. And he was like, you got to get out of that. You got to get out of that. But he was the only person that knew it, my girlfriend who was going through the same thing.
Yeah.
I could not dare utter it to anybody else that knew me because,
Right.
again, I was too ashamed and embarrassed.
Hmm. And that's why I didn't tell my family, like my sister or my mom. That's why I didn't tell them. And I didn't want them to worry about me. And in a sense, I felt like me and him were going to get back together. As crazy as it sounds, because you just don't know.
That part. Mhm.
Because I kept, I don't know why. And you tell yourself that you're not going to ever deal with nothing like that. And until you're in a situation, you don't know. And it's
Right.
you want to be like, just walk away. But sometimes you can't. Something just has a hold on you where you just can't walk away. You can tell somebody else if they're in
We
a
know what the hold is, Sharice. We got to be honest about what it was. It was a lack of self-love.
right.
Like I said, the thing that woke me up was when
Mhm.
that guy said to me, you have to love yourself more than you love his children. I kept saying, but the kids, if I'm not there, he was like, those are not your kids. They're not yours biologically. They have mothers, they have a dad. And he said, you're not going to be here to have children. He said, you can't be here for anybody if you're not here. This dude is going
Right.
to eventually take your life. Like you said,
Mhm.
he choked me. He literally almost killed me. Right? And so he was the one that made me realize that, you know what? He's right. I have to love Melissa first. Before I can
Mhm.
love his children, I have to love me. Because
Right.
if I don't love me, I'm not going to be here. And so
Yeah.
we have to be honest about that.
Mhm.
Right. Self-love matters. And we have to be honest about that. It's because we're loving everybody else and everything else more than we're loving ourselves.
Right.
I think I saw someone ask the question earlier about how do you serve children
Yes.
who's witnessed this. And hopefully I can answer your question correctly, but and I just have to do it again from my own perspective. Like I say, I have girls, and I'm really just open. I'm open. If my child has a question, I answer, and because I have obviously a pretty good read on her personality, and her personality is the type that she just needs you to say it for what it is. She doesn't like all the sugarcoating and talking to her like she's way young and too immature to understand. And it's like I avoid details, but I get the general point across because we're not trying to traumatize any kids. But I get the general point across. And if there's something that she tells me, oh, I remember this, then I address that. She's already confirmed that she remembers. I address that in the best way possible. I never want to give details because at the same time, I don't want to influence my child to be angry at him. I don't want her to have resentment. I don't want her to grow up and feel like I can't believe this, total abandonment and neglect. I don't want her to have any of those feelings. So I'd rather just have the open conversation, the open dialogue, so I can talk to her. So that's just kind of what I do. Hopefully, that helps answer your question just a little.
And I think she said those of them that see this type of trauma, how can we help them out? And I'm thinking, Dr. Shika, that you're saying, like when we know that children have, because like some of us said, we saw it with our parents. So I'm assuming you're asking about if we've seen it, that we know that children have seen this kind of abuse. Um, you know, oh, that's a good question because I don't know what you guys' rules are. Like I said, on a collegiate level, I can talk to them because they're children. Oh, she said it did, India, that you answered her question. Thank
Oh,
you.
okay.
That's a great question, Gavin. So he said, how do you get to the point where you trust and feel comfortable and safe with someone after experiencing that? For me, Gavin, it was about learning how to trust me, how to go with my instincts. Because again, God gives you little slaps on the wrist and you ignore them. So it's about me trusting me again, me trusting my own instincts, and me knowing, like we said, when we saw those signs, we knew it was time to walk away. And now we know to walk away if we see those signs. But I have always been someone who truly believed in I never judge one person by the next. And again, that's probably how I was able to stay in that relationship so long, is because I would literally forgive him and it would literally be wiped away from me. until it happened again. And so for me, it was just really just being true to myself and being honest to my instinct. I'm somebody who I think I have a very, very discerning spirit, but I've always felt bad about it. Like, oh, I feel bad because my spirit doesn't vibe with that person. But I've learned as I've gotten older, believe what you're feeling and believe what people show you the first time. And so that would be my answer, how I got comfortable. What you show me, I'm going to believe you. Anybody else want to answer Gavin's question?
For me,
For
it was. Oh, go ahead.
One of y'all go.
Oh, I was saying, for me, as far as trust, I had to, just get more into religion. I mean, I feel like, God set me free in a lot of ways, especially mentally and emotionally. And I never had the natural feeling to want to hate them. So I never hated them, not one day. I didn't have any hate. So it was easier for me to go to the next relationship, with my husband who I'm married to now, and just see him for just a beautiful person he is, like just totally respectful and just kind and nice. And I know people, because I've been told they're like, nice, you describe him as nice. I'm like, well, if you've walked in my shoes, nice is a pretty good compliment. And because he's just kind and he's not like anything I've ever experienced before. It's just a certain type of kindness that he has. And that's exactly when you go through a situation like this, it's easier to trust someone with his type of personality. And I can't say I trust everybody because I don't think I'm ever going to get to that point. But I'm more observant. I know the red flags. I can say I know them now.
That was a good point, Indy, that you made where you said, because I don't hate anyone. I never had hate for him. Like there would be people once they found out about it, like, oh, I hate him now. And I'm like, I don't. I actually feel sorry for him.
Yeah.
I never ever hated him. And so I didn't have that in me. And so thank you. We'll answer Veronica's question next. Anybody else want to answer Gavin's question about how did you get to the point where you feel comfortable and safe with someone after experiencing that, Sharice?
Well, I don't judge anyone else for someone else's mistakes. So I look at everyone else as pure until they show me different. And the relationship that I'm in now, he's a great guy. I haven't seen any signs, but if I do, I know the exit stage left because I'm not dealing with that anymore.
Pastor Sherry?
For me, it's all of what you all said. For just like with you, Dr. Chester, it was one, you got to love yourself, of course. Look at yourself and say, okay, I got to take care of this right here. I got to take care of this temple. The second part is just like India said, forgive, love wholeheartedly. Don't hold any grudge to that person and really want them to get help. And really, even to this day, there's no grudge. And I made sure that my daughters that remember don't have that grudge. That's important. And then the other thing is that be open, because you just never know who God will send you as a part of, yes, you have to self-heal, but as a part of your healing process to trust again. And so I'm grateful that the person I have in my life, he helped through that process.
Thank you, Pastor Sherry. Haley, you want to answer that question before we answer Veronica's question?
For me, same thing. I never had any hate, and I still don't. Like I wish the best for everybody. I'm sorry I had to wash my hands with it. It just didn't work out. I wish you the best in life, but that's just that. And I actually ended up getting into another relationship kind of soon after that one. In that one, there was no domestic violence or anything. It just didn't work. And then I just realized that I think I go into a relationship looking for the love that I didn't receive as a kid. So it's like, sorry. It's just like, I don't know. So I just try to focus on myself. I haven't been in a relationship in so long because I just have to focus on me and make sure I'm good.
And what you said, Haley, and I feel you. I feel your pain because when you say about that love, like, and I tell people this, and it's not like no slight on my mom, no slight on my mom at all. My mom was abused by her mom. My grandmother was an alcoholic. My grandmother died when I was an infant, so I didn't know her. She was an alcoholic. She abused my mom and my aunts and my uncles. But my mom didn't know how to show love. My mom didn't know how to show love, and my mom actually did not start telling us that she loved us until we were good and grown. And so the first time she said it, Sharice, I didn't even know how to receive it. And so I feel Haley's pain when she's saying, I think my thing was I went in loving people so hard, like Haley is saying, because I'm gonna love all that away. I'm gonna love all that away from him because I didn't have that love. I was trying to give someone that unconditional and that love that had no boundaries, that agape love. And unfortunately, you have to give that love to yourself first. I had to realize that, wait, I got to have that for me first before I can even try to give it to anybody else. So Haley, I feel you on that one.
Yes, me too. Because my mom, she was never affectionate. And honestly, till this day, like if she was to tell me that she loved me or she hugs me, it just doesn't, it feels
It's
fake.
weird. Yeah.
It feels weird.
It feels weird. It's like my mom says, I love you now. First time my mom said, I love you, I was in my 30s. Like, and it was different for me. My mom was, she just not an emotional person. She was not an emotional person.
That's how my mom is as well. And my dad I'll never forget this. My dad told me, and we don't even have a good relationship because he was never really in my life like that. But he's kind of like he's here now. We talk every now and then only because he's reaching out now because he has nobody. His mom died, his dad, his sisters and brothers are dying off, and he's realizing that he's alone. He don't have nobody. But he has 5 kids. And none of his kids have a relationship with him. But now he knows my heart. He knows how I am as a person. So now he's reaching out to me, But what I was going to say about my father is that my father told me that my mother is a type of woman that should have never had kids. She's not like someone that should have had kids. Like she's not loving. She's not affectionate. Now, don't get me wrong. My mom provided for me, my sister and my brother by herself. She raised us in everything. But my mom was never that loving and nurturing mother. I never got that. So every relationship that I ended up in, I always gave it 200%. Always. Because I'm like, there's no way this person's going to ever hurt me or leave me because I'm going to be the best woman that I can be for them. And it just, life happens.
Yes. Totally agree, ladies. Somebody asked, would we ever counsel? I think Veronica asked, would we counsel youth, mentor girls and boys who are being abused by their mate? The answer for me is yes. And when you say mentor, I would just have honest conversations with them because the one thing that we all know is that we can't will anybody to want to walk away. It only happens when they get fed up. When a woman's fed up, when a man's fed up, when that person is fed up, that's when they'll walk away. And but I wouldn't. I do it. Like I said, I did it on the collegiate level. I have done it with middle school and high school girls. I talk to them. I'm the person they tell about what's going on. And I tell them, I was like, listen, I was with the man who did not like what I said. We were talking, Sharice. And because he did not like what I was saying, this dude headbutted me and broke my nose. Like he broke my nose. I'm bleeding, my nose, gushing blood, India. We're at the Burger King. The babies went into his babies and his niece went into the restaurant to get some food. He and I sitting in the car. He got mad because of what I said. He headbutts me, and my nose is bleeding blood. So I'm trying to call, somebody. I'm getting ready to call somebody to come pick me up. He takes my phone. He breaks it. The children come back out. What happened to Godmommy? What happened to Auntie? Oh, I hit her in the nose. I hit her in the face by mistake with the door. Oh, as soon as we get our destination, I'm going to take her to the hospital. And we went to the hospital. And this is when I walked away. When we got back from that trip, that's when I packed up and I moved. And I was like, I'm dipping. I'm going. We were in the hospital. And the man had told me that I had waited too long, that my nose was too swollen, that I had to have surgery because my nose was, was broken. And I remember the doctor looking at me. He was like, yeah, sir, I hit her. He doing all the man's asking me what happened. He answering for me. He all this rubbing on me. And I'm like, And the doctor's like, ma'am, what happened? He was like, he said, no. He asked me, he answered. And the man looked at me, he was like, ma'am, is that the truth? And I could tell that doctor did not believe him, that doctor was like, just tell me. And I'll call the police right now. And I'm boohoo crying. She was so embarrassed. And I was like, yes, sir, that's what happened. He was like, okay. And so he was like, I'm going to give you some pain medicine because we can't do anything. And when you get back home, you're going to have to schedule. And I had to have surgery for them to reset my nose. And I told him, I remember looking at him saying, you made me a Lifetime movie. This is it. I'm done. And I remember that was it. That was the way that I walked away. Yep. So
I think a lot of times we get, at least for me, I got caught up most definitely in the I love you situations, and I can love you out of it. But I think there always comes a limit, like you were saying, with your nose being broken, you fed up. For me, it was I couldn't walk for 6 months. So that was something that was a reminder every day. So when I heard y'all say, God gives you that tap, He gave me the taps. But you know what? For 6 months, I had to walk in that. The difficulty, deal with the kids, difficulty. The world didn't stop. I figured out a way to work around it. And it's like, it just made me a stronger person, and it made my tolerance very little for that type of behavior. Zero. I mean, I have to say it's terrible that it took that much, but a lesson from everything. And yeah, I would definitely answer the question, mentor the youth for sure. I mentor anybody.
yes, because as Pastor Sherry said, the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, we're 5 women telling our story, but there are probably 5 women listening who have the exact same story, or 10 women listening. And so I'll always share my story. I'll never be ashamed of it. Because like I said, we're victors. We got the victory. We're not victims. We're not survivors. We're victors. We're winners. We came through those situations, and we came through them better. We came through them stronger, and we came through them still. The thing that I'm so thankful for, ladies, that none of us are jaded, that none of us are bitter, that we're all still women of God who love on people, who love to love, and who give, unapologetically. And again, that's why my spirit connected with you all. I haven't known any of you 3 months. Me and Pastor Sherry are just going to be hitting 3 months. I just met you, India, this week, and I asked you what you want to talk. Because
I feel like that was God intervening, because when you mentioned it to me, I was like, wow, like how, I was like, she's that intuitive. I was like, she's really gifted. And then I thought about it, and I was like, no, that's God. Because I've always said I wanted to do something like this and just help other women, young people, men, it doesn't matter to me. I just want to help. I wanted everything that I went through not to just be wasted. There's plenty of lessons to take away from it. Just like, y'all take plenty of lessons away from what y'all went through. And we can just pass that along. Maybe save somebody else. It ain't no maybe, it will.
That's right. That's right, India.
Yes.
That's right. And like Veronica said, there's so much going on in middle and high school. Like it's starting so young. It's starting so young.
Yes. Dr. Chester, I did want to say that there is a number that if anybody knows anybody that is going through this, that they can call. If it's okay for me to give that number out tonight. They can call the National Domestic Violence Hotline. It's 1-800-799-SAFE. 1-800-799-SAFE. For anybody that's out there or know somebody, have them to call to get help. They'll get them to the right chapters, wherever cities that they are, for, local help. But if there's anybody out there that needs help, call that number, 1-800-799-SAFE.
And if you don't want to call the number, you can message me. You can message me on social media, and I will respond. because
Me too.
listen, we all have to be each other's keeper. I'm my sister's keeper. I'm my brother's keeper. Like I said, that's the thing that I love about the women that I have on this panel. You guys have such beautiful hearts and such beautiful souls, and I saw that in each of you. And your lights they shine so bright. Um, they shine so bright, and I'm thankful that each of you, saw it not robbery to still be who you are, who God ordained you to be, who God destined you to be, and just and being the awesome women of God that you are. I'm really thankful for that because, and Haley, I want you to know I haven't known you long, but you know I love you. I'll always love you. Don't you ever, ever, ever feel that you have to go try to find that love anywhere else because you have some women now who love you like you're their own. I love you like you're my little sister. Thankful.
I love you
Oh
too.
God,
We bonded.
I don't know
I'm be your mother, but I'm gonna love you like I'm your auntie because I can't. I'm in denial about being old enough to be your mom.
Well, I am. It's okay.
Oh God,
Well, I want
I'm
to
like,
say,
oh, she's
Doctor, this is
25.
awesome.
That means I'm old enough to be her mommy. I'm 20. I'm 47. She hates mommy.
you're a hot mom. That's all that matters.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
That's,
But I am thankful for you, ladies.
but
So I'm
thank you,
gonna.
Dr. Chester. This is amazing. Thank you. This, I mean, really, for being a visionary to have us on here to share. We really appreciate you and your story. Went through what you went through, this platform would even be possible right now. So
Right.
we're grateful.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you for sharing your stories with me, for agreeing to be the ones to come on with me. I mean, when I asked each of you, you were like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh," I was thinking you were like, no," but all three of you, all four of you, were like, "Yeah, sure." So thank you for sharing your stories. I
You're
really,
welcome.
really appreciate it. So I don't know if the audience. I don't think we have any other questions, but Veronica, you know me. Every time I get on the show and we do this kind of stuff, we got to figure out a way to help the babies in high school and middle school. Maybe we have to do like some type of weekly or monthly Zoom or something, or a call or chat or something where we're just getting on and having that conversation. That is the one thing that I did realize that came out of COVID. People are so much more open in the virtual space than they are the physical space. And so I've learned that younger people, especially, they'll share so much more in this space than they will personally, physically. So we have to just figure out how to help these babies, Veronica, because that breaks my heart to know that middle school and high school girls are going through this at record numbers. And so we want to just make sure we figure something out about that. And then I want to give you ladies an opportunity to say any last words before we say goodnight.
I just want to say to always put yourself first. Don't put anybody else in front of you unless it's your kids or something like that. Just make sure you're good before you go trying to make sure somebody else is good because they're not putting out that same energy. You're just draining yourself.
Thank you, Haley.
Yes, I agree with Haley. And also, if you're going through something probably like we went through with this domestic violence, just reach out to somebody. Don't ever feel like you're alone because there are a lot of women, a lot of girls going through the same thing. You're not alone. So just reach out to somebody and get help. And if you can, walk away.
I hope that with all the viewers right now, that y'all are just able to take this as your first step. If you haven't taken the first step, just take it as your first step. It'll be a beautiful first step. This will encourage you, hopefully, to speak out and to reach out for help. And there is a lot of help out there. I know it can seem hopeless. It can seem absolutely hopeless and like the darkest place on earth. And you're just faced where you're just like, I don't even want to be here no more. But no, that's not the right train of thought. That is not what God wants you to think. That is not what we want you to think. There are volunteers everywhere. They're at churches, they're at schools. It can be your neighbor, it can be your coworker, it can be your friend going through the same thing. There's people out there to help you and to support you. And again, I know from being in that situation before, people had told me that, and I found it very hard to believe because I felt so isolated and so alone. But there really are people there. You just have to open your eyes, pick a person to trust. You might not trust your own judgment. Call the hotline. Seek out a pastor. I found a lot of grace and deliverance once I started being more into the word.
Thank you, India. Pastor Sherry.
Well, my final marks would have to be just really, truly, 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 just like she said, trust God and know that there is help out there for you. Are not alone in this situation. We are we are a village. We are united. There is help. Don't feel like you're by yourself. Seek the help. No matter how young you are or how old you are, know that there is help and that we are a sisterhood. What
Sherry, Pastor Sherry, you said we are a sisterhood. What did you say after that?
Oh, I'm sorry. We are sisterhood, and it's what we went through was not just for us. It was for those that are coming behind us.
Thank you, Pastor Sherry. My advice would just be to take it one day at a time. Like the lady said, reach out to somebody. Self love. Love yourself enough to know that you matter. Self love matters. You are more important than anything that you're going through, anybody or anything that you're staying there for. Whatever it is that you think you have to stay there for, you are more important than all of it. And so make sure you understand that you come first and that there are people who are here to assist you, to help you, to hold you up when you fall down, to pray for you, to encourage you. And you don't have to know them. Know that we are all women who are survivors, no, victors, right? We have the victory over domestic violence. And we are praying for you. We are here for you. And we know because we've walked in your shoes that you can come out of this. You can come out of it. And like India and Sharice and Haley and Pastor Sherry said, um, just trust God. Trust God and know that with him, if God is for you, who can be against you? And so you know that you can have the victory. And so with that being said, I'm gonna show the last comments. Oh yes, definitely, Miss Angela. You gotta remember, guys, it's not just physical. Some of us are being psychologically and verbally abused, and it contributes to our insecurity. But that's where it normally starts. So you're watching, you say, oh well, he's not hitting me. But if it's starting with verbal and mental abuse, it is abuse, and sometimes that's worse than physical, because emotions, they last longer than wounds, right? Emotional wounds last longer than physical wounds. So thank you, Angela, for saying that, because as many of us said, it started with the verbal and the mental first. Yes, as Sheikah said, if you're watching, if this information is for a family member, handle it with care. Actually be the person that your family member can trust. And love others properly. We must show what love is by loving ourselves first. So great comments from our viewers. And again, we thank you guys so much for listening to us. We will be on next week. I'll have a whole slew of women on here, from Dr. Sheikah to my homegirl, Miss Veronica Rose, and a whole lot of others. And we'll just be celebrating womanhood and celebrating all the great things that each of us are doing and just having a conversation about it. And so we want to thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. So enjoy the rest of your Winning Wednesday. And again, ladies, please get help. Verbal, mental, or physical abuse, make sure you call the hotline. Thank you guys so much for your transparency. As Ronnie Rose said, Coach Veronica says, and I love you, ladies, and I'll see you soon.